Hello guys, welcome to another video. I finally have an actual camera. Not finally, I guess I've only recorded one video besides this, but I have an actual camera, so hopefully the quality is much better than last time. This is going to be a book tag. The first one I saw was Sarah Caroli and I loved her video. And then I saw that Larry Reed's did it and she added like 5 questions. So I did like the full 20. I added 5 and then I changed some of them in there that there were some questions, like there was one that was a book you thought you'd hate but loved, and I've never really gone into reading a book that I thought that I'd hate, so I changed that kind of just backwards. And then a couple others. We've got 20 questions and I went through my bookshelves and everything I read. If you can tell back there, it's literally a mess because I just went through and like demolished and took out a bunch of books, which kind of hurt my soul a little bit, but we move on. So let's get on with this. I'm not gonna say too much about what the books are about, just like why I chose them for that category, because I feel like that makes the most sense. And if I went into detail on every single book, this video would be far too long. The first question we have is a book that you tell people is your favorite. So this is kind of new, like I only read it a month ago. Yeah, I only read it a month ago, so it would have to be if someone asked kind of recently, but I would say Beach Read for sure. I absolutely loved this book by Emily Henry. I have read one other book by her. I read Book Lovers by her. Can't remember what the other one's called, but I've read Book Lovers and I love that one too. But this one, just something about it just touched my soul. I just loved Gus and January. I thought that they were so cute and they were so, like, there's so much depth to them, and I absolutely loved it. And I read this book so fast. I read it on vacation, and I'm so sad because while we were like on vacation, I was reading it in the sun and it just fell apart. Like, it just came out of the book. So I ordered another copy. That's not here yet, but Beach Read is definitely one that I would tell people is my favorite just because of how much I loved it. The next question that we have is a book that is your guilty pleasure, and I honestly had a couple options for this, but I chose them for different questions because I wanted each question to have its own book and kind of just have its own moment, I guess. So the next one I read on my Kindle. I don't have a physical copy, but I have my Kindle here. I love my Kindle. I love my Kindle. I just got a pop socket today to like make it easier to hold, and I'm so excited for that. Like, it's already easy to hold for me, but like a pop socket is gonna be so nice. Anyway, the book that is my guilty pleasure is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This one definitely has a lot of like mixed feelings about, and I get it, it's kind of weird, that's why it's obviously my guilty pleasure, but it's because the girl falls in love with her boyfriend's dad. Yeah, weird, but I still liked it. I don't know. I think it's because the boyfriend was so bad at the beginning. It was just easy to get into it. And then a book that I read the fastest was also on my Kindle. It was Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. I loved that book. That was actually my first read of 2023 and I rated it 5 stars, but it was just so good. And since it was on my Kindle, I couldn't tell how long it was, but I think it was like 500 or 6. It was a long book. It was like 500 pages and I read it in like 2 days probably. And I finished on my Kindle and I cried and it was just so good. Oh, I skipped a question. Okay, so the next question, I was looking at it, I was like, wait. The next question was a book that everyone loved but you didn't, and this one is a hot take. Like, I've been waiting to talk about it. I read this last summer, I think. Love in Other Words by Christine Lauren. I liked it, don't get me wrong. I did like this book, I just didn't love it. And most people that have read it love it. Like, they would die for this book. This is like their one like standalone romance favorite of all time. And maybe that's just because that's the opinions that I watch, but it wasn't my favorite. I just thought, I hate when a guy messes up that bad. Like, I hate it so much. It was good. It was a good book, I just didn't love it. There's just, yeah. Maybe I'll read it again. Maybe a year has changed my tastes. I know it has, but and then I'll give it another chance. But for now, not a favorite, and I'm sorry. Don't hate me. Everyone has their own opinions. I just didn't love it, but I think it's cute. So, okay, the next question is a book that deserves more hype, and this one I kind of always like stan about. Don't really ever hear about this author. I never hear about this book, but that is Just Haven't Met You Yet by Sophie Cousins. This book I thought was so good. Like every chapter I was just like, oh my gosh, like just in love with everything. I loved just the idea of it, that she was going to this small island, and I love travel. Like I love travel in books, and I loved the guy that she fell in love with. If I need to sell it to you anymore, there is a scene in this that kind of reminded me of the scene in 50 First Dates where she goes and meets his family. Is that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the right movie. Did I say? Oh my gosh. Okay, I said 50 First Dates. I meant How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days with Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey. There's a scene in this. I'm pretty sure, I read this like a little bit ago, but I'm pretty sure there's a scene in this that is very similar to a scene in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which is one of my all-time favorite like romance movies. So, very good. Needs more hype. Question 6 is a book that's becoming a movie/TV show, and I picked It Ends With Us. I know that Colleen Hoover has all this like bad rep now, whatever, but this is one of the first books I read when I got into reading, just like everyone else, and I did like it. I cried. I thought that it was a good book. I mean, it was good, but the main reason I picked this book for this question is because Blake Lively is playing Lily, and that is the most epic thing ever, and I love Blake Lively, and anything she does I will worship, so this is the book I'm gonna choose for that. Okay, question 7 I changed to a book that you thought you'd love but you ended up hating. And I don't know if this is fair because I did DNF it. Like I took the bookmark out, but it is Blood and Honey by Shelby Morin. This is because I loved Serpent and Dove. Like I remember I was obsessed with that book, and then I was so excited to read the second one in the series, and I just couldn't get into it, and I want to try to reread this because I was like halfway through and I was like, I don't know if it's gonna get better. I just could not get through it, and I hate that because I did love the characters and I love the idea. It was like a witch fantasy, which is different from what I usually read because usually it's fae, but yeah, I just couldn't do it, so I did not like this, but maybe I'll try it again and it'll have a different spot on this question tag list. Okay, question 8 is a book from a genre you don't typically read. For me, that's like thriller horror, I guess, but I mean, I like it, I enjoy reading it, but just most often it's fantasy romance. That's just more what I'm in the mood for, unless it's like October, fall. Then I like need to read something spooky to get me in the spooky mood. Anyway, this one's also one I don't hear a lot about. I found it when I was first started reading again, from Libby Christensen, I believe. Had this book like on her, or is now like Zakic? Either way, they had this on their like little books tab, and I was like, ooh, I like it. The other cover was like a butterfly, and that's like the main reason I wanted to get it, but it's like a it's a thriller book about a couple and I think a therapist or an author. It gives me like a mix of Misery by Stephen King, which I've never read, but I know it's about, and The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, I believe. It was good. I liked it. Moving on. Okay, a book that deserves all the hype. There was lots of options for this, but I ended up going with Icebreaker, which I also read on my Kindle. But I just loved that book when I read it, and I feel like the hype is dwindling. But at that time, everyone was looking for it and buying it, and it was like the thing to be reading. Like such a good book. Like the couple had like no big issues that were just annoying, and all the friends were so amazing. Question 10 is a book you recommend whenever someone asks, and that for me would be Better Than the Movies, because I think it is just such a wholesome book. I know it's good for like most ages, most or all ages, like even my sister could read this, and I loved it. I thought it was cute, it was innocent, it was sweet, really gave me like teen rom-com vibes, and I loved it for that. But yeah. Question 11 is a book with your favorite characters, and I had to, of course, go with Akhtar for this one by Sarah J Maas. Like, literally, how could you not? I liked it. I loved it. What can I say? Everyone knows. You already know. Anyway, 12 is a book that you wish you lived in, and I had to go with Caraval. This is the other, like, longer series that I read. This book just gives me such interesting fantasy world vibes. Like, it is different than any other fantasy I've read, because I feel like other ones are always like this one island with spring court and summer court, and that's just the one I'm reading right now. But like in a lot of them they're like that, but this is like completely different, 180, like more princess vibes or like just wondrous vibes, I guess. Like if you took a carnival and just made it like princess magic. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know. It was beautiful, and Stephanie Garber's writing is just so gorgeous, and I just can't imagine living somewhere like that. I think I'd like to live in this realm of where anything she writes is possible. 15 is also a question that I kind of changed because I didn't know. I don't remember what 15 was, but I didn't have a book for it. Or 13. Oh my gosh, I'm skipping so far ahead in my brain. I just looked at my bookshelf and I was like, which of you do I not remember reading? And this one, for the life of me, Kisses and Croissants by Anne-Sophie Jahanu. I don't know how to say that. Pronounce her last name. I cannot remember what this is about. I'm sure if I like quickly read the back, I would be revamped and remember, but I cannot remember what this is about at all. Maybe after this I'll read the back and be like, oh yeah, but can't remember. Did dust just come off of that? Oh my god. Anyway, question 14 is a book that made you cry. And I have cried at quite a few books, to be fair. But this book, Song of Achilles by Madeline Meyer, I sobbed. I sobbed for so long. And this is the only book where the next morning I went to school and someone asked me about what I was reading and I started crying. I was like literally an emotional wreck after this book. A lot of people don't like this book because of Achilles and they don't like Achilles, which I understand. But Patroclus, he was so sweet and I loved him so much and my heart hurt for him so much. And that's like the point, like it's his book, not Achilles. I don't care about Achilles. I mean, I did, but like he was stupid. We all know that he was stupid. But if you move past that, it was an amazing book and the writing was beautiful. And yeah, this is one that I'd love to reread. But moving on. 15 was a book that you wish you could read for the first time. Again, I'm assuming. That is the Mind series. This series by S.T. Abbey is insane. Literally insane. I read this on my Kindle and then I got this copy for my birthday from one of my good friends. And I want to reread it and annotate and just like all the things that I know now and reread it, I guess. I don't know. The accomplishment I would feel reading this whole thing that fast, mind-blowing. Anyways, yeah. It's a book that could cure a reading slump, and I chose The Inheritance Games because I think it is such a perfect, like, all-around book. It's got mystery in it, it's got a little bit of romance, it'll keep you intrigued. Every chapter is short. I remember when I first started reading this, everyone was saying, like, short chapters, like, you have to read it. If you are getting into reading, if you're in a reading slump, like, it'll just keep you going. And it's a series, so if you finish and you're like, I don't know what to read, there you go. You know what to read, the next book, and you'll love it just as much. This one's like a mystery. It kind of reminds me of Knives Out, if you needed any information. I'm not saying a lot about these books because I personally do not like knowing a lot about books before I read them. Like, I want like a one-sentence description. That's it. A book that I think everyone should read is actually the first book that I read since I've been like reading consistently for a couple years. I recommend everyone read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It is easy to read, fast chapters, has a little bit of like, not magic, but just something, a weird library. Obviously The Midnight Library. It's not like deep, but it just like makes you look at life and be like, just read it and hopefully you get something good out of it. A book I think would make an amazing movie is Question 18, and I think that is Paris is Always a Good Idea by Jen McKinley. I read this book a little bit ago, but I picked it up at one of my like used bookstores in town, and it is just so interesting because she travels to a bunch of places in Europe that she had went when she was studying abroad, or like her year after graduation travel, and she's just like talking to all these boys that she used to like. And I think it'd be a good movie because it has so many different like cool traveling spots and just fun things that happened to her while she's traveling. And I think that it'd be good. Yeah, so, and then second to last question is a book everyone should give a shot, even if it's outside their comfort zone. And I would say, I think that there are a lot of people who don't read fantasy or just don't choose to. And I would say that Dance of Thieves is one that you need to give a chance. Like, I loved this book so much by Mary E. Pearson. It was so good. I read it so fast, like maybe one day. I think I actually did spend one day reading this book. I loved it. It is like the perfect balance of enough. You get enough romance and you get enough of the sparks early on in the book that the fantasy isn't too intense. A book I'll never forget is A Cruel Prince by Holly Black, because I remember the exact moment I read this, and it was early on in my reading. I was still my senior year of high school, and it was over spring break, I think, that I read this, and I ran through the entire series. I just fell in love just with reading and fun adventures and stuff, and I will just remember what happens in these pages. The series kind of gets bundled together for me, but I will always remember. That was all 20 questions of this book tag. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm so excited to keep making book content for you guys. I am hopefully going to have my April reading wrap-up up by the end of this month, and then also a book haul whenever the books I ordered come in. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching. I will see you next time.
We'll be right back.
Dad, I'm recording.
Huh?
I'm recording.
Oh.